The San Francisco fog had barely lifted when I badged into Social Core's headquarters for what would be the last time. My coffee was still hot, my laptop bag slung over my shoulder. A morning like any other, except for the knot in my stomach telling me it wasn't. I'm Alex Chen, and I built the technology that powers one of the fastest growing social platforms in the world. Though if you asked my co-founders, they'd tell you a different story. Morning, Alex. Our head of customer support called out as I passed. I managed to smile, wondering if she knew what was coming. The whispered conversations, the sudden meeting cancellations, the way our CFO Marcus wouldn't meet my eyes lately, it all pointed to one thing. They were making their move. I reached my office, still the same cramped space I'd had since we founded the company 3 years ago. I'd refused to move to the executive floor, preferring to stay close to the engineering team. A real CTO works in the trenches, I'd always said. Marcus and Brett, my co-founders, had laughed at that, calling it another one of my quirky programmer habits. My computer booted up, displaying the familiar lines of code I'd been working on late into the night. SocialCore's proprietary algorithm, my algorithm. The one that had turned our platform from just another social media startup into a billion-dollar company with 10 million daily active users. A message popped up. Emergency board meeting. 9 a.m. Attendance mandatory. I checked the participant list. Everyone except me had been notified yesterday, of course. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, our lead developer. They locked us out of the main repository last night. Something's happening. I know, I typed back. Don't worry, remember Protocol 0. Already in place. Good luck. I smiled despite everything. They thought they had it all figured out. The perfect corporate coup, timed down to the minute. What they didn't know was that I'd seen it coming months ago. The signs had been there since our Series C funding round. Brett, our CEO, had started taking more credit for the technical innovations that made our platform unique. Marcus had begun questioning every development decision, suggesting we streamline the engineering team. Both had gradually excluded me from key meetings about the company's future, but their biggest mistake, assuming that because I was quiet, because I preferred coding to corporate politics, I was naive. At 8:55 a.m., I grabbed my laptop and headed to the executive conference room. Through the glass walls, I could see them already assembled. Brett and Marcus, our new board members from Vision Ventures, and a man I recognized as David Warner, a hotshot CTO from a competing platform. My replacement, presumably. Alex, good of you to join us. Brett's smile was sharp as a razor. We have some matters to discuss. I sat down, noting how they'd arranged the seating, me alone on one side, then presenting a united front on the other. Classic intimidation tactic. I'll get straight to the point, Brett continued. The board has concerns about the technical direction of the company. We feel it's time for a change in leadership. We appreciate your early contributions, Marcus added, not even trying to hide his smirk. But we need someone with enterprise experience to take us to the next level. I stayed silent, watching them exchange glances. My lack of reaction was making them nervous. Your shares will be bought out at their current valuation. Brett pushed a document across the table. It's a generous offer, considering recent performance issues. There it was. They'd been manufacturing performance issues for months, subtle changes to the platform that would only show their full impact after today. Performance issues, I kept my voice neutral. Our user engagement is up 40% this quarter. But retention is down, Marcus countered. The algorithm needs a complete overhaul. David here has experience with exactly this kind of scaling challenge. David Warner sat up straighter, already playing the part of conquering hero. If he only knew what he was walking into. We'll need you to hand over all access credentials and documentation immediately, Brett continued. And of course, you'll be escorted from the premises today. I opened my laptop one last time, logged into my admin account, and initiated a series of commands I prepared months ago. To them, it looked like I was simply following their instructions. All yours, I said, closing the laptop. Though you might want to review the platform's core architecture documentation carefully, especially Section 7 regarding user authentication protocols. Marcus frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Just being thorough, I smiled. Wouldn't want any performance issues during the transition. Brett slid the buyout agreement closer. Sign here, and we can all move on. I signed without hesitation. watching their faces flicker with surprise and then satisfaction. They'd expected a fight, maybe even hoped for one. A messy exit would have made it easier to justify what they were doing. Instead, they got something much more dangerous: quiet compliance from someone who had nothing left to lose. "One more thing," I said, standing up. "You might want to pay attention to the user logs around 9 a.m. on Friday. Could be interesting." "Is that a threat?" Brett's voice hardened. "Not at all. Just looking out for the platform's stability. That's what a good CTO does, right?" As security escorted me out, I could hear them already celebrating in the conference room. Brett was probably explaining to David how the platform worked, not realizing that what he understood about our technology barely scratched the surface. Because what none of them knew, what none of them had bothered to learn, was that I built more than just an algorithm. I'd built a failsafe. In the lobby, I turned in my badge to the same security guard who had greeted me every morning for 3 years. "Everything okay, Mr. Chen?" he asked, noting the security escort. "It will be," I replied. "Though you might want to keep Friday morning free. Could be an interesting day." Outside, the fog had finally lifted, revealing a clear San Francisco sky. I checked my phone. Messages from team members expressing shock and support. News alerts already picking up the story of my sudden departure. But the message that made me smile was from Sarah. Protocol 0 status. Armed and ready. Timer set for 72 hours. I walked to my favorite coffee shop, ordered my usual, and opened my personal laptop. Time to put the final pieces in place. Because while Brett and Marcus were busy dividing up my stake in the company, while David Warner was probably already rearranging my old office, a simple countdown was running in SocialCore's systems. In exactly 72 hours, when 10 million users logged in to check their feeds, they'd learn the truth about who really built the platform they used every day. More importantly, they'd learn what Brett and Marcus had tried to hide. Sometimes the best revenge isn't fighting back. Sometimes it's letting your enemies think they've won, while the real battle is just beginning. I took a sip of coffee and began to type. Friday was going to be very interesting indeed. The next 72 hours were the longest of my life. I spent them in my apartment, surrounded by monitors showing SocialCore's public API status, user engagement metrics, and most importantly, a countdown timer that only I could see. Sarah kept me updated through secure channels. "They're trying to understand your code architecture," she messaged late Wednesday night. David Warner spent 6 hours today just staring at the authentication module. I smiled, imagining Warner's frustration. The authentication module was elegant in its complexity, a piece of engineering art that had taken me months to perfect. But it was also a trap. "How's the team?" I asked. "Waiting, watching. Most of us have rejected their retention offers. We know what's coming." Thursday morning brought a flood of news articles about my departure. SocialCore shakeup, co-founder and CTO out, read TechCrunch. The company's PR team had done their job well, painting it as a mutual decision driven by different visions for the platform's technical future. Brett even gave an interview, skillfully dodging questions about why they replaced the person who built their core technology. SocialCore has always been a team effort, he claimed. No one person is irreplaceable. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from other tech executives, offering condolences and job opportunities. I ignored them all. They'd understand why soon enough. By Thursday evening, the first cracks were starting to show. User reports of strange behavior in the platform's recommendation engine began popping up on tech forums. Small glitches in the interface that only the most observant users would notice. "Warner's trying to modify the core algorithm," Sarah reported. "It's not going well." Of course it wasn't. What looked like simple interface glitches were actually Protocol 0's early warning system activating. Every attempt to alter my code only made the protocol's countdown accelerate. At 8:45 a.m. on Friday morning, 15 minutes before the scheduled revelation, I received an urgent message from Marcus. "Alex, we need to talk. Something's wrong with the platform. Brett won't admit it, but we're seeing serious instability in the core systems. Whatever you did, we can make a deal." I left it unread. At 8:55 a.m., I opened my laptop and accessed a special terminal I built years ago. One final command would trigger what I'd been planning for months. "Ready?" I texted Sarah. "Engineering team standing by. We've got your back." At precisely 9 o'clock a.m., I pressed enter. Across the globe, 10 million social core users logged in to find their feeds transformed. Instead of the usual social updates, they saw a simple message: "Welcome to the truth about social core." What followed was a meticulously documented presentation that began playing simultaneously for every user. It showed the platform's real history, not the sanitized version Brett and Marcus had been selling to the media. Security camera footage from our early days, showing me coding through the night while Brett and Marcus attended parties and networked. Archived emails proving they tried to sell my technology to competitors behind my back. Financial records revealing how they'd systematically diluted my ownership while enriching themselves. But most importantly, it showed what they'd been trying to hide for the past year. Evidence that they'd been secretly selling user data to advertisers in ways that violated both our terms of service and federal privacy laws. The presentation ended with a simple statement: "This message brought to you by Protocol Zero, Social Core's true guardian." My phone exploded with notifications. The tech press was already running stories. Social media was on fire. Social Core's stock had been halted after dropping 30% in the first minute of trading. Then came the message I'd been waiting for from a secure government email address. "Dr. Chen, this is Agent Sarah Martinez from the SEC's Cyber Unit. We've received your documented evidence of securities fraud and privacy violations at Social Core. Would you be available for a meeting today?" I was already typing my response when another message arrived, this one from the platform's largest investor. "Emergency board meeting called for 11 a.m. Your presence is requested. Full voting rights temporarily restored." At 10:55 a.m., I walked back into Social Core's headquarters. The security guard grinned and handed me a new badge. He kept it ready, just in case. The scene in the executive conference room was chaos. Brett and Marcus sat ashen-faced as lawyers and board members argued. David Warner was nowhere to be seen. "How?" Brett demanded as I sat down. "We checked every line of code. We had the best security teams audit everything." "That's the problem with people who don't actually understand technology," I replied calmly. "You don't know what you don't know." The board chair cleared her throat. "Mr. Chen, perhaps you could explain exactly what happened this morning." "Of course. Protocol Zero is a sophisticated oversight system I built into Social Core's foundation. It monitors for specific types of unethical behavior, data privacy violations, algorithm manipulation, security breaches. When it detects serious violations, it activates." "And the user data sales?" one of the lawyers asked. "All documented. Every transaction, every secret meeting, every altered log. Protocol Zero recorded everything." Marcus slumped in his chair. "You knew. All this time you knew what we were planning." "I knew the moment you started excluding me from privacy policy meetings. Real engineers build safeguards, Marcus. We plan for failure, including human failure." The next few hours were a blur of legal discussions and emergency votes. By evening, the board had reached its decisions. Brett and Marcus were out, facing SEC investigations and likely criminal charges. I was reinstated as CTO with expanded responsibilities and a seat on the board. The company would immediately cease all unauthorized data practices and implement new privacy protections. Most importantly, Protocol Zero would be officially recognized as an integral part of Social Core's governance structure, with my engineering team leading its continued development. Later that night, after the lawyers had finally left, I sat in my old office with Sarah and the core engineering team. Someone had ordered pizza, a throwback to our startup days. "You could have exposed them months ago," Sarah said. "Why wait?" "Because it wasn't just about them," I explained. "It was about building something that would prevent this from happening again. Protocol Zero isn't just code, it's a conscience for the platform." Over the next year, Social Core transformed. Under my leadership, we rebuilt trust with our users through radical transparency about our data practices. The engineering team expanded, attracting top talent drawn to our commitment to ethical technology. Brett and Marcus eventually pleaded guilty to multiple federal charges. Their fall became a cautionary tale in Silicon Valley about the dangers of prioritizing growth over ethics. The press called it a tech industry morality play, but they missed the real lesson. This wasn't about revenge or even justice. It was about building technology that served people, not exploited them. Last week, I gave a keynote at the World Privacy Summit. Looking out at the audience of engineers, executives, and activists, I shared the real message of Protocol Zero. Technology without ethics is just sophisticated exploitation. Our job isn't just to build systems that work, it's to build systems that work for the good of humanity. The standing ovation wasn't for me. It was for the idea that technology could have a conscience, that code could be a force for accountability. Now, when I badge into our headquarters each morning, I see something different in the faces of our team. Not just pride in their work, but faith in the principles behind it. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about building something so meaningful that their actions become irrelevant. That's not just a lesson in technology. That's a lesson in life. As I write this from my office, Protocol Zero continues its silent watch over our platform. Every day, millions of users trust us with their data, their connections, their digital lives. They may not know about the safeguards protecting them, but that's the point. The best guardians are often invisible, their greatest victories the disasters that never happen. And sometimes the most powerful code isn't the one that runs the fastest or scales the highest. It's the one that ensures technology remains a force for good, even when humans forget their principles. That's the real power of Protocol Zero. That's the real triumph of engineering with ethics. And that's a legacy worth building, one line of code at a time.
The Sapphire Bay Resort stretched along 2 miles of pristine Caribbean coastline, its white buildings cascading down to turquoise water. I'd purchased the property 6 years ago when it was a struggling 3-star hotel, invested $12 million in renovations, and transformed it into a 5-star destination that anchored my 11-property resort chain. My family's annual reunion was being held here this year. 40 relatives gathering for a long weekend, and not one of them knew they were staying at my resort. "Welcome to Sapphire Bay," the valet said warmly, reaching for my luggage from my 10-year-old Honda. His name tag read Marcus, and I recognized him from the staff photos my regional manager sent monthly. Checking in. Yes, under the Summers family reunion block. His eyebrows rose slightly. "Miss Summers? I'll have your bags sent directly to—" "Just follow the standard reunion room assignments, please," I interrupted gently. "I'm a guest today." "Of course." He looked confused but handed me a claim ticket. The lobby was all marble and ocean views, with the signature blue glass chandelier I'd commissioned from a Miami artist. My cousin Ashley held court near the check-in desk, directing family members with a clipboard and an air of authority. "Kate." He waved me over. "You're finally here. We were worried you wouldn't make it." "Flight was delayed," I said, hugging her briefly. "Well, you're just in time. I've got everyone's room assignments organized. We've been upgraded. The resort gave us an amazing deal on suites for the whole family." She beamed. "Oceanfront, balconies, the works." "That's great. Your room is ready too. Let me just check." She consulted her clipboard. What?" "So, the suite upgrades were for couples and families. Since you're single, they kept you in a standard room. But it's still nice. Poolside view." I waited. "It's just that everyone else is in the North Tower with ocean views and you're in the South Building. But honestly, Kate, you'll probably be so busy with family activities you won't even notice." My cousin Jessica appeared, designer sunglasses perched on her head. "Did you tell her about the rooms?" "Just explaining the arrangement," Ashley said. Jessica nodded sympathetically. "It's actually better this way. The South Building is quieter. More your speed, you know? Less chaotic than being with all the couples and their kids." "High speed," I repeated. "You know what I mean. You're always so independent. Content with less." She gestured at my simple sundress and carry-on bag. "This way you won't feel out of place when everyone else is posting photos from their fancy suites." I checked in with the front desk agent who clearly knew who I was but followed my earlier instruction to treat me like any other guest. She handed me a key card to room 142, a ground floor standard with a view of the resort's smaller pool, far from the luxury accommodations in the North Tower. My phone buzzed as I headed to my room. A text from Ashley in the family group chat. "Everyone's upgraded to suites except Kate. She's in a standard room but says she doesn't mind." So generous of her to understand. Smiling face with smiling eyes. Replies flooded in. "That's our Kate, always so easygoing. At least she gets a poolside view. Better than nothing else." I stood in the hallway outside room 142, looking at the text thread. my family celebrating their upgraded suites at my resort, while I'd been assigned the cheapest room in the building. I opened the door to find a perfectly adequate standard room, crisp white linens, basic furniture, a small bathroom. Through the window I could see the secondary pool where families with small children played. It was nice. It was fine. It was nowhere near the oceanfront suites where my family was unpacking in luxury I'd personally designed. I pulled out my phone and called the front desk. "This is Kate Summers. I need to speak with the regional manager immediately." "Miss Summers?" "Of course. I'll connect you with Mr. Patterson right away." Derek Patterson answered on the first ring. "Miss Summers, I didn't realize you were on property today. Is everything all right? I'm here for a family reunion. The Summers family block. Do you have the reservation details?" "One moment." I heard typing. "Yes, we have 40 guests under that block. Premium suite upgrades for most of the party, some standard rooms." He paused. "Oh. They assigned you to room 142. "They did. That's our most basic accommodation." "Who approved that room assignment for the owner?" "My family doesn't know I own the resort, Derek. They think they got a generous upgrade deal. And they decided I didn't qualify for a suite because I'm single." Silence on the other end. "Derek, I need you to do something for me." "Anything." "Reverse all the suite upgrades. Move my family back to standard rooms. Cancel the resort credits, the complimentary breakfast and the spa discounts. Return them to the standard reunion package rate." "You want me to downgrade your entire family?" "Immediately." "Miss Summers, that's going to cause complaints. They'll demand to speak with management." "I'm counting on it." 20 minutes later, I was unpacking my carry-on when my phone exploded with notifications. "Ashley, Kate, did you see? They're moving us out of the suites. Some kind of computer error." "Jessica, this is ridiculous. We already unpacked. They're saying we have to move to standard rooms." "My Uncle Tom. The manager says there's no resort credits anymore either. What kind of place is this?" "Aunt Linda, I'm going to the front desk to complain. This is unacceptable service." I smiled and headed to the lobby. The scene was exactly what I'd expected. 15 angry family members crowded around the front desk, voices overlapping as they demanded explanations. Ashley waved her clipboard like a weapon. Jessica was filming on her phone, probably planning to post a scathing review. "This is outrageous," Aunt Linda declared. "We had confirmed upgrades. Oceanfront suites. Now you're saying we have to move to smaller rooms." The front desk agent maintained professional composure. "I apologize for the confusion, but there was an error in the original booking. The suite upgrades and resort credits weren't actually approved. I have the confirmation email." Ashley thrust her phone forward. "It says right here we're getting the premium experience." "I understand, ma'am, but—" "I want to speak to the manager," Uncle Tom interrupted. "This is unacceptable. We're a party of 40. We deserve better treatment." "I'll get the regional manager," the agent said, already reaching for her phone. I stood at the back of the group watching the chaos unfold. My cousin Ryan spotted me. "Kate, can you believe this? They're downgrading everyone." "Everyone?" I asked innocently. "Well, not you obviously. You're already in a standard room." He said it without malice, just stating what he thought was obvious. "But the rest of us are being moved from luxury suites to regular rooms. It's crazy." Derek Patterson emerged from the executive offices, immaculate in his resort manager suit. His eyes found mine immediately, a question in them. I gave him the slightest nod. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice cutting through the complaints. "I apologize for the confusion regarding your room assignments." "Confusion?" Jessica snapped. "This is incompetence. We were promised upgrades." "I understand your frustration. However, I need to clarify something about this situation." He pulled out his tablet. "The Summers family reunion block was booked at our standard group rate. The suite upgrades you received were unauthorized." "Unauthorized by who?" Ashley demanded. "By the property owner." Derek's gaze swept across my family. Miss Summers specifically requested that all upgrades be revoked. The lobby went silent. "Miss Summers." Aunt Linda's voice was sharp. "Kate had nothing to do with our booking. Ashley arranged everything." "Not Kate," Derek said. "Catherine Summers." the owner of Sapphire Bay Resort and the entire Sapphire Collection resort chain. You could have heard a pin drop. Ashley's clipboard clattered to the marble floor. Kate doesn't, she couldn't. She works in hotel management. She owns hotel management, Derek corrected. 11 properties across the Caribbean and Central America. Sapphire Bay is the flagship. Jessica's phone was still recording, capturing every stunned face. That's impossible, Uncle Tom said weakly. Kate drives a Honda. She dresses like she shops at outlet malls. I do shop at outlet malls, I said, stepping forward from the back of the group. And my Honda runs perfectly well. Neither of those things has any bearing on my net worth. The crowd parted as I walked toward Derek. Miss Summers, he said formally. I've executed your instructions. All room assignments have been returned to the standard group rate. Should I proceed with the downgrades? Every eye was on me. Ashley found her voice. Kate, you own this resort? I purchased it 6 years ago. Invested $12 million in renovations. Built the North Tower you were all just complaining about being moved out of. But you never said anything. You let us book here, let us think we were getting some special deal. You did get a special deal, I interrupted. I approved a 40% discount on your group rate because you're family. The upgrades you received? Those were complimentary because I wanted you to enjoy the resort. Until I saw the room assignments. Jessica lowered her phone slowly. The room assignments? I was given a standard room. Ground floor poolside. The cheapest accommodation we offer. I looked at Ashley. You texted the family chat saying I didn't mind being in a lesser room because I'm generous and easygoing. Ashley's face went red. You decided I didn't qualify for an upgrade because I'm single. Because I'm different. Because you assumed I couldn't afford better anyway. We didn't mean it like that, Jessica protested. How did you mean it then? I asked quietly. When you said the standard room was more my speed? When you suggested I'd feel out of place in the luxury suites? When you told everyone I was content with less? Silence. I own this resort, I continued. I designed those suites you were so excited about. I selected every piece of furniture, every art piece, every amenity. I built the spa where you booked treatments and the restaurant where you made reservations. And you assigned me to the worst room in the building because you decided I wasn't good enough for better. Aunt Linda sank into a nearby chair. Kate, we didn't know. You didn't ask. You made assumptions based on my car and my clothes and my marital status. You decided I was less successful, less important, less deserving. Ryan stepped forward. So you're punishing us by taking away the upgrades. I'm giving you what you booked, I corrected. Standard rooms at a discounted group rate. Which is still generous considering you tried to exclude me from the luxury accommodations at my own resort. Derek cleared his throat. Miss Summers, should I proceed with reassigning rooms? I looked at my family, 40 faces showing various degrees of shame, confusion, and residual entitlement. Part of me wanted to let them sit in their embarrassment, let them experience the standard rooms they deemed good enough for me. But they were still family. No, I said finally. Keep the suite upgrades. Restore the resort credits and the breakfast. They can stay in the North Tower. Relief flooded several faces. But, I continued, I'm moving to the presidential suite. The one in the private tower that's not available for standard bookings. With the ocean views, private infinity pool and dedicated concierge service. The suite that costs $12,000 per night. $12,000, Ashley choked. I am still the owner, I said. And I deserve the best accommodations at my own property. Derek, have my things moved immediately. With pleasure, Miss Summers. As Derek made arrangements on his tablet, I turned back to my family. You're welcome to enjoy your suites. Enjoy the resort, the amenities, the vacation. But from now on you include me. Not because I own the place, but because I'm family and I deserve the same respect you give each other. Uncle Tom found his voice. Kate, we're sorry. We should have. You should have treated me better regardless of what you thought my bank account looked like, I finished. But yes, you should have. Ashley picked up her clipboard with shaking hands. Can we start over? Can you tell us about your business? Really tell us. I considered. The presidential suite was probably ready by now. I could retreat there, enjoy my private pool and ocean views, let them wonder about the empire I'd built. But they were asking. Finally asking. "This evening," I said. "Come to my suite at 7. I'll order dinner from our executive chef, the one I recruited from a Michelin-starred restaurant in Miami, and tell you everything." "Your suite?" Jessica asked hesitantly. "The presidential suite, yes. There's room for 40 on the terrace. Bring everyone. It's time you understood who I am." That evening my family gathered on the sprawling terrace of the presidential suite. The sun set over the Caribbean, painting the sky in impossible colors. My private chef served courses I'd personally approved, wine from my resort's premium cellar. And I told them everything. About buying my first struggling hotel at 28 with money I'd saved from a tech job. About renovating it, turning it profitable, selling it for triple my investment. About building a portfolio of 11 properties across 6 years. About creating the Sapphire Collection brand that was now synonymous with luxury Caribbean hospitality. They listened. Actually listened without interruption or dismissal. "You did all this by yourself?" my cousin Ryan asked, awed. "With excellent teams at each property," I said. "But yes, the vision and capital were mine." Ashley set down her wine glass carefully. "And we put you in room 142. "You did." "I'm so sorry, Kate. I thought I was being practical. I thought you wouldn't care about the room quality because you never seem to care about appearances." "I don't care about appearances," I agreed. "But I care about being valued. About being included. About my family seeing me as worthy of the same treatment they give each other." "We see you now," Aunt Linda said quietly. "And Kate, we're proud of you. We should have been proud all along." The evening continued with questions about my business, my properties, my plans for expansion. They wanted to know everything, and for the first time I believed they genuinely cared about the answers. Later, after everyone left, I stood alone on my terrace overlooking the resort I'd built. The North Tower lights glowed where my family slept in their complimentary suites. The resort hummed with satisfied guests enjoying amenities I'd created. My phone buzzed. A text from Ashley to the family group chat. "Thanks to Kate for an incredible evening. I'm sorry for how we treated her. She deserves every success she's built. Red heart." Replies flooded in, apologies and admiration mixing together. I smiled and looked out at the Caribbean night. They finally saw me. The successful businesswoman. The resort owner. The woman who'd built an empire while they'd assumed she was barely getting by. But more than that, the family member who'd chosen grace over revenge, even when she had every right to cancel their entire vacation. I'd revealed my success on my terms at my resort with my grace. And that was worth more than any presidential suite.